All right, welcome back, baseball fans, to this Eliminating the California Angels video. California really having a rough time in the early 70s. You got the Kansas City Royals no longer in their division, but Oakland's up there. Texas getting better with Billy Martin, and it's just hard to wait until the late 70s when the Angels become really good and they start bringing in free agents. And they go to the 79 League Championship Series, 82. Right now, the Angels, their batting average was pretty good this year, 270. Scored 155 runs. It was the pitching that just collapsed, which is very uncharacteristic. They built this team off of a stellar starting rotation, but it just got knocked around this year. Period. End of season, end of story. So let's start with the hitting, the good parts. Mickey Rivers, 335, the lone all-star, 18 stolen bases, 35 games. He had 75 of those in 75. He could do that in a full season, I suppose. Steal 75 bases to lead the league. Don Baylor, though, probably should be the team MVP. 331, 15 stolen bases, 5 homers, 23 ribby. Paul Shaw, nice on-base machine, 448. Reggie Scheinblum is a 328 card, so that's a little under, as is Valentine's 300 card. Spencer and Darren Johnson are in the platoon. That's just not productive enough for a first baseman combined. And then it gets worse after that. They have, no catching at all. And, yeah, bad shortstop play. Yep. But most importantly, when we look at the pitching, what a disaster it was for Frank Tanana and Bill Singer. Normally reliable pitchers just had an atrocious year. 2-12 combined, ERAs, unsightly. Now I know a couple of these games were blowouts and we just left them in there because they had to eat up innings. And that's the unfortunate problem when you have just an 8-man pitching staff. There's no relief in sight if you get blown up early. You just have to take it for 3 or 4 innings, and that's what happened to kill their ERAs. Andy Hassler was the most effective pitcher, but he can't pitch on 3 days rest, so he only has 35 innings. LaRoche is a decent closer, and there's Nolan Ryan in there, 6-5 with just 2 complete games though. Walks are down, so you look at the hit walks, and it's that 72 card, and that's the best card he's going to perform with until perhaps 79 or when he's in Houston. So it's going to get, the walks are going to start to become an abundance in the future for Nolan Ryan. The team finished a couple games worse than they did a year ago. The team ERA was over a run worse. Last year the team ERA was 3.42. That's alarming. Can they fix this in an off season? Let's take a look now at the California Angels stack here. These are the 12 players who are coming back. Heavy on hitting with 9 of the 12 players hitters. So there's no catching here. We begin with an interesting first base platoon. These 2 guys, Jim Spencer, Darren Johnson. Yeah, that'll work. They could work together in tandem. All that power for Darren and the right-hander. Yeah, that could work. Presently, we just have this guy can play second base. 265 hitter. Got to improve there. We're pretty content with Paul Shaw's on-base ability at third base. Only made available because he was in Kansas City and George Brett arrived, so they had to move away from him. At shortstop, at least Rudy's a left-handed hitting shortstop, which is fun to find, a 3. Versatility and left-handed from the left side is nice. No power. He gets on okay. 245 hitter? No, it's 223, even worse. Well, and then you have this interesting option of just going for offense with Valentine at short. It's like a 40-31. Make him your everyday shortstop and have Mioli come in late in games for his terrible defense. Great stick, 300, 302. Here's Baylor in left, taken away from Baltimore much sooner than he would have been. Skipped his stint in Oakland altogether. We'll ride him all the way through. This is a 75 card. He'll ride this card all the way through until it's time to move into his MVP card of 1979. Here's Mickey Rivers in center field. This is the top stolen base king of 1975. Defense and center and throwing arm are always a question with him. And this interesting Richie Scheinblum card, like the Bobby Valentine. You know, these were their extra players of 1973. Scheinblum was number 1 and Valentine was number 2. But you give them a more prominent role, and now you can see why the team hit 270 as a team. You know, the power wasn't there, just 19 homers in 35 games. But a nice Richie Scheinblum card. Which takes us to the 3 pitchers, and they're all starters, and you just have to hope. You can't really do anything about Tanana and Singer and Hassler. You just pitch better. You have a sit down and you have 2-word conversation. Pitch better. Nothing we can do. You're supposed to be a better pitcher, so we're not going to change anything. You know, 3.11 ERA. This is before he had arm problems, so he's still a strikeout. Still kind of a flame-throwing youngster here. Eventually, he'll turn into more of a crafty lefty who moves the ball around, that kind of thing, when he has arm problems. Bill Singer, he's had better cards, of course, with the Dodgers and with the Angels. He's getting up there in age, but 316 innings in 1973 and a 20-game winner. You don't expect a guy like this, even in 47 innings, to sport a 755 earned run average, but that's what he did. And then there's Andy Hassler. Now there's a fine pitcher right there. Hassler would only have a couple decent years. This year, 1980, is also good with California. Had a lot of injury problems up and down in the farm system. Nice card, and that's no relievers. The whole bullpen and Nolan Ryan are gone. We know Ryan will come back, but the whole bullpen is up to replacing. This is a tall task. I don't know if they can fix all of this in an off season. Well, that's the 12 that are coming back. The 12 are decent, but it's going to have a lot of holes to patch. Let's take a look at those 8 players who left. Who do you want to keep, waive, and retire? All right, baseball fans, we're going to begin this look, and the first player is Curt Blefary. Story be told, he was pretty much out of the game, and California had 2 very weak right-handed hitting catchers, and at the last minute before he went fishing, he got a call. His wife said, hey, the Angels called. They want you to be their left-handed hitting catcher. And he said, okay. So he went out, yeah. And this 72 season is what we used. And he was with Oakland. He was with San Diego. At 196 for the Padres. We used that card at age 28 for Curt Blefary. Got a World Series ring in '66 with Baltimore. Nice. But his career's over. That was, he postponed the fishing trip 6 months, and now he can go fishing. So we're going to retire Curt Blefary. We'll go over to the 3rd column where we keep, waive, and retire guys. Column 3, we retire him for $1. Next player is Horace Clarke. Interesting story that Sandy Alomar and Horace Clarke were switch-hitting second basemen for the Angels and Yankees. Both teams released them, and they just flipped to the opposite team. So Horace Clarke was just vacated by New York. California picked him up because they vacated Sandy Alomar. So Horace will stick around a few more years, though. Actually, will improve his batting average in '73. I think his defense gets worse, though. Definitely plays a full season, so you know you can put him on waivers if you think an upgrade is available. Frankly, the 263 season and 650 plate appearances doesn't really concern me. It's the potential bad defense. He might be like a 40-30 or something like that. I wouldn't want that. They have Winston Lennis, who's also a 4. You can keep him. Worst case, why not keep him, and then you could push him into waivers. So let's make Horace Clarke a curious case for keeper. And the 3rd hitter, the other catcher, yep, Art Kusnire. Art, you know Art. Yeah, Art Kusnire, there he is. Yeah, the long career of Art Kusnire, from 70 to 73, skip some years. We played this out for you, Art. We gave you an opportunity. You did a decent job. You hit left-handed pitching fairly well. Right-handers give you some problems. And 73, they're probably not going to make that card, so we could probably retire him. But let's just see if there's a Cousin-Iyer card in 73. I don't think there is. We're going to go to the roster sheet. The roster sheet's at Gary's Strat-O-Matic page. California Angels. Not listed as a catcher there. They went to John Stevenson, Jeff Torborg by 73. We can look at their extra players. Lang, Lennis, Parker, Valentine. No, he is going to be on retirement. So both catchers are retired, and that's good news. That's great news. The fact that they have they're going to have to get 2 catchers in the draft. Now the pitching. Nolan Ryan in the bullpen. Well, don't really have to do much analysis here for Ryan, but we'll look anyway. But what you're going to find is how great 1972 was. You know? 72 was an amazing good year. Let's not forget that. Look closely at these numbers. A 228 earned run average, folks. First year in Anaheim. And then after that, it creeps up, keeps creeping up. Doesn't creep down until the strike year of 81 in Houston. He's pitched in the Astrodome. And then, of course, you know, he gets to the Texas tenure and so forth and so on. But anyway, 9 shutouts in 72. His first year leading the league in strikeouts with a measly 329. We'll top it here and here. Almost there. Here. 18 wild pitches. We can ignore that. They don't have a way of making that look worse for pitching in Strat-O-Matic for starters. But yeah, so you got your choice, 73 to 76. Probably give him a series of consecutive 1-year contracts. I mean, eventually you get to the whip, where the whips right here are he's just walking too many guys. In this chunk here, 75 to 78. I mean, leading the league in walks 6 out of 7 years. 204 walks. Think about that, folks. A pitcher who pitches 204 walks is unheard of in today's game. They wouldn't even give him a chance. But it was a different time back then. The Ryan Express. Look at the strikeouts. My goodness. The greatest strikeout king in our sport. But his best successes will be at age 32 and beyond. You know, you stroll down, now he's got a magnificent career because of Houston and Texas. This is what you want to be known for. You don't want to be known for all the walks and strikeouts in the 70s. What a wild career for Nolan Ryan. 5,740. That is never going to be touched. So, Nolan Ryan will keep him, obviously. Now the bullpen. All 4 guys up for grabs, beginning with Gary Ross. Gary Ross, I think he's got a good year in 76, which is coming up. Let's double check that. And if not, he'd be a good trade chip. There it is. So that's the year. So Gary Ross will be in the league next year with that card, because everything prior to that is lousy. But 1976, 31 starts, 225 innings, a 1.25 whip. That's a starter pitcher in our league. California possesses him. So that's a keeper. Plus, I want to make a note here, because you're kind of locked into that year too, you know? You don't have any other options. We know they have too many starters, so he represents a heck of a trade chip, particularly to a team that may not have any prospects in the 1976 card set box. California could say, hey, you need an ace, you need a number 2, 3 starter, boom. This guy, and you can have him for 4 years. Or they move on from Bill Singer. Maybe that's the chip. You know, people go, Bill Singer's available? Holy crap. Somebody like the Dodgers makes a move for Bill Singer. Maybe the Toronto Blue Jays, because Bill Singer is their first starting pitcher, I think, on opening day in Toronto. Interesting. So they could just keep Gary Ross, joining Ryan, Tanana, and Hassler. So they got some interesting starting pitching options. Definitely, it can only get better after what they just went through this past season. Ricky Clark, I think he was a one-year wonder. Well, technically he's a 5-year wonder, but he probably only had a card once. The 67 card would have, that would have been nice. At age 21, a nice 1967 for Ricky, and 68. And then he disappeared off our radar in our timeline. Gave us this card, which is actually, ERA is unsightly, but as it turns out, he has a good split versus lefties. He will go into retirement. Thank you, Ricky Clark. 3 keepers, 3 retirees, and now 2 more players. Cecil Upshaw. Actually, I don't think he was associated with California. We got him as a free agent from Atlanta. Had a decently long career. Got a Braves hat on there. Atlanta Braves. Then he goes to Houston, Cleveland, New York with the White Sox. Through 75. Okay. This is going to be complicated here. 73, if you want to put this guy on waivers, he's got to have a card in 73. He threw 42 innings through a couple teams. Let's stick a pin in that for a moment. 74, he pitches also for a couple teams, throws 67 innings. And 75, 47 innings for the White Sox. There's some success here in 74 and 75, not so much in 73. So you definitely don't want to retire this guy, but if he doesn't have a card in 73, you're either keeping him or retiring the guy. He's got to have a card in year 1 to make waivers. That's the worst performance, but let's see if there's an Atlanta or Houston card in the 42 innings he threw in 73 for Cecil Upshaw. Atlanta or Houston? No Upshaw in Atlanta? No Upshaw in Houston? Not listed here under Atlanta's pitchers. And with Houston, there he is. Well, that's good news for California. Got options now. Cecil Upshaw. So you can give him waivers. Can keep him. Like I said, but you have to do more research and see if the 74 and 75 cards exist. But at least you have waivers. Frankly, could be a keeper because you like that. If you find out you like the 74 or 75 cards, maybe you want to keep them. Give him $10,000. But you can at least get him on waivers. He's not going to be retired, which is good news for Cecil. You know, one other trick teams can do is that they can find the guy on the waiver wire, just take him, regardless of how bad those stats are, and then upgrade the card later in the draft. It stalls adding players to your roster. It just kind of postpones it, but all teams get to that when the draft is over and free agency begins. So step 1, just get the guy signed. Step 2, evaluate the year if you want to switch to a different year. So you find him off waivers with 73, and then you say, no, I want to play a 74 or 75 card, or maybe even cut him. That'd be wild. So anyway, intriguing options for a reliever. Next player is Dave LaRoche. Dave will have a nice long career with a little lob and so forth. He actually, at this point of his career, he's got the Angels hat on. At this point of his career, he's a Twin. So he starts with California. He goes to the Twins, then the Cubs, then Cleveland, back to the Angels, and then the Yankees. So he goes back and forth. He's the prodigal son here. Very good, but in 73, very bad. 74, very bad. 75, very good, and 76, very good. So I think you hold on to them. Trade chip, because he wasn't even on California during this timeline, but you don't got anybody. I mean, you got no one. 75 and 76 cards will probably exist with that many innings. And again, he'd be back with California in 77 anyway. So it's not a stretch to suggest you can take a 76 Cleveland card. I mean, you have the rights to him right now. But I'm thinking he's a keeper. And the other reason I want to keep him is that it means you've locked in 3 lefties. So you don't have to go searching for a left-handed pitcher in the draft, which is often like finding a needle in the haystack, because you got Tanana, Hassler, and LaRoche. Now this team's pitching staff, at least, looks pretty interesting. Plus, remember Horace Clarke way up here? What if we kept Upshaw and we put Horace Clarke on waivers? So, and then because these guys they've got a reasonably good offense otherwise. They just have holes at catcher, second, and short. So, anyway, something for the team to think about. The Angels almost draft ready. They have to keep 4, waive 2, and retire 2. So they do have to work on the 3 retirees. There's nothing you can do if the guy doesn't play baseball anymore. So they're on the clock for making a deal in the offseason. So they have to deal to get the retired list down to just 2 players. All right, that's it for eliminating the California Angels. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.